What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Player One versus the World StrangeCast podcast, a podcast made by fans for Life is Strange fans. I'm one of your hosts, Adnan. My co-host, Adam, is here. Adam, how are you doing?
Good to be here. Good to be... well, I was going to say good to be born in America, but some days, yeah, some days, no. But yeah, just chilling here, preparing to do another move. In the same state, but yeah, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I'm very tired as well. We've got a lot of stuff happening, and this is a little bit more of an introduction. And also, you know, if you've been on Twitter, Dayeanne Hutton is featuring in this episode. If you don't want to hear us talk, you can skip to the timestamps. I'm not someone a clickbait merchant. We're not a video baiting merchant here. So if you do want to just listen to that interview, go and click ahead. Well, I do recommend you listen here because if you're here, there's a lot of entertaining stuff to talk about.
And we're interesting people, yeah?
Absolutely, and there's so much to talk about because we are only 1 week away from when we're recording from less than a week actually, that the remastered collection of Life is Strange drops. There is a lot of hype, but before we get into that, obviously I want to kind of just fill this out with the introduction, which is obviously our last episode was the most viewed episode to date. It had over 1,000 views on YouTube, which is insane. It's even picked up a lot of views on podcast services. Thank you so much. We're only a small YouTube channel. We do this for fun. We want to entertain. We want conversations that keep you kind of like going. It was just a great episode, and it was kind of like good also to see the Dontnod team kind of really engage with our tweets as well. And I love them. They're fucking great people. But I do have to update you with one thing. My detective sleuthing skills in the last episode were terrible, as Luke pointed out in his tweet. So just let me kind of correct this.
Yeah.
He also tweeted out saying, also to help your investigation, the fourth person, which is in the photo that I was trying to explain, between Matcha. And he also pointed out that in her handle, her pronunciation is Matcha Lopez and not Matcha Lopez, which, by the way, I'm going to stand here saying that I did say Matcha. It's just how I pronounce everything. There's also a T in almost everything I say. So it was Matcha that I was saying, not with the T in it. But yeah, the person that was in the photo with Luke, Matcha, and Michelle wasn't Mary, who I was potentially thought it was their cinematic designer, but he said it was the incredible Judith Lavoie, who is their producer. So I failed my sleuthing skills there. I apologize. It just happens. But yeah, Luke gave us an update on that. So I kind of just wanted to let you know that the third person in that photo was that person that Luke mentioned. So that's just a quick update on that point. Also, one more thing as well, when you jump to the interview with Day, you'll notice that I actually asked her if she's excited to see Kate. What I didn't realize was that there was an extended footage that was released for Life is Strange Remastered Collection, because I kind of basically timed the segment we did with Day, because we recorded it on Tuesday and me and Adam were recording this on Wednesday. I intentionally put it out there so I could basically see the clips quickly, and then me and Day could have a conversation about it. Even Day said she almost missed the extended footage because they tweeted the first 2 clips and then they released it, I think was it on Square Enix's website or something? I didn't see the link. And I think she saw it, thankfully, and she saw like the full extended clips, because I saw two minutes clips. So apologies for me just asking her, when we just sitting there oh, are you excited to see Kate Marsh in 4K? She's like, well, I saw a bit of her. It's like, I just sat there, I was like, oh. Well, yeah.
No, that's just like Life is Strange. That is in their brand. I still remember when we were recording Games and Groceries, when Life is Strange 2 was being teased, me and Liz went on Games and Groceries, we recorded an episode, and we talked about the theories of what the story could be, what happened, because all we saw was those police, the chest cameras or the car cameras of what was happening. We're like, oh, it could be this, it could be that. Literally right after we recorded, and we were just about to upload it, Life is Strange just posted the first 15 minutes of it, and just explained everything, and just went out the water. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. It was just timing, and it was one of those where I was like, I couldn't believe that I just didn't notice it. It just flew right over my head. It's been one hell of a week. But yeah, for me, it's just ignore all that. But anyway, as I said, we're here for a new episode. We're on episode 10. Just a reminder, we are on podcast services. So if you don't want to listen to the YouTube version, you can put it on Spotify, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. We're on all those services. So do check us out on there. And obviously, please do leave us a like, rating, and subscribe. I don't really, I don't want to be one of those YouTubers, but it just helps with our channel. We're not huge, but it kind of boosts to other people. And it's always nice to have people come to the channel. And actually, one more thing as well, before we continue into the main show, Life After Strange will return at some point. I've had a couple of people ask me. It's just basically I've been running around in a circle, essentially, trying to find my next guest. I will just leave it at that. I've been running in a circle for a better part of a month, and I'm just trying to find the time to kind of get someone. But there will be more episodes in that series in the future. So don't think that I'm just kind of ignoring it and just doing this. There will be that. But yeah, Adam,
can I give a small plug?
Okay, go for it.
I was gonna say, like, your struggles of making a new Life After Strange. So check out my other channel, Evalt. It's our video essay thing. I literally, and I forgot to tell you this off camera, I literally was about to film the next Evalt video and the camera's dead. Like I'm recording my webcam right here, which is fine. But I'm just like, oh my God, like, are you serious? But we just decided, like, oh, we'll just film it after we move. Because it's like one of those things, like, okay, I can't deal with this right now. I'm packing and all that. So there's a new Evalt video, and we were about to record another one. Camera dies. So content creators with full-time jobs, the struggles are real.
Yeah, as we both know, it's just an unbelievable struggle. But we want to keep you on a high note because we're going to talk about Life is Strange. It's a very heavy Life is Strange episode, and we're going to.
We're not starting on a high note here.
Well, we're
a pretty bummer.
Well, yeah. Well, it's a bummer if you're a Nintendo Switch user because the first piece of news, obviously, is Life is Strange Remastered Collection has been delayed again on Nintendo Switch. So we're going to Eurogamer for the story, which is Life is Strange Remastered Collection, which gathers together fancied up versions of the original Life is Strange and its prequel Before the Storm, has been delayed for a second time on Switch and is now expected to arrive, quote unquote, later this year. The Remastered Collection was originally due to launch last September, a mere 2 weeks after the arrival of the series' latest entry, Life is Strange True Colors. But publisher Square Enix ultimately made the decision to postpone its release into 2022, citing the quote-unquote ongoing challenges of the worldwide pandemic, end quote. Square eventually announced a revised 1st February release date for the Remastered Collection on all platforms, Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and Stadia. But with just 2 weeks to go until that date is finally upon us, the publisher swooped in with more bad news for Switch players. And they said in a statement, the collection, and I quote, the collection will be hitting Google Stadia, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC on February 1st, as previously announced. However, we are sorry to share that the Nintendo Switch versions of the game have been a little set back, and we will need a bit more time until they are ready. So it will be releasing later this year, end quote. Life is Strange Remaster promises to bring a range of enhancements to developer Dontnod's much-loved original game and its Deck 9 developed prequel Before the Storm. I'm not sure why there's a hyphen between Deck 9. You don't need that, but anyway, including visual upgrades for characters and environment, engine and lighting improvement, and in the case of Life is Strange 1, fully motion captured facial animations. The more recent Before the Storm, meanwhile, comes with all the content from its deluxe edition, namely a range of outfits and its Chloe and Max reunion farewell episode. While the Remastered Collection could still be a considerable way off for Switch owners following today's announcement, players on the platform do at least have the option to explore the series' critically acclaimed True Colors in the interim, and very good it is too. I'm not going to read the rest of it; it's just full of Eurogamer. Yeah, but so we got that news first. I'm really just like, like with the Switch version, it's like because I'm pretty sure the True Colors was delayed, wasn't it, on Switch as well?
I'm pretty sure. I think you're right.
Yeah, it was delayed.
No, it was. Yeah, because it was just released not too long ago, so it was delayed. Yeah.
So it was delayed on that. This has happened again. I'm obviously like, I'm all for the people that post into where it's like, yeah, take as much time as you want to develop a game. Yeah, I'm not like I'm not criticizing it from that, but it's like I feel like the Switch has kind of like got a really rough ride with these two releases this year. And I think that as they've said in the original set, where they said like, the issues with the pandemic, the development changed a lot on True Colors. And I had a funny feeling based on a lot of sleuthing I did a couple of months ago that
you're being Sherlock again here.
Yeah. Well, I had a bit.
I got you the first time. Then Luke just like screamed at you on Twitter.
Hey, no, but I remember looking for a lot of things. I remember that I feel like Life is Strange True Colors was meant to be announced in the year that the kind of like pandemic was flowing, but they kind of didn't announce anything. That nothing actually happened. So I'm definitely sure they pushed it back. That's how. From like a lot of stuff I was piecing together. But this is kind of like a bit of a shame. It's like a really shame, like for it to come out on Switch again. Obviously it will come to Switch, but I feel like this is kind of like an entry point for a lot of Switch users. Like obviously these kind of like are marketed to the fans who want to play it again and also to a new consumer base. Obviously, you'll get it in the long run, but a little bit disappointing in my me hearing this news.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's only what you said. It's only a little bit disappointing because I feel like now I'm primarily an Xbox player. I'm the scum of the earth. I know, especially in like recent news. I am pretty much a scum of the earth, I guess. But I've always been an Xbox person ever since 2001. Like ever since. But I'm only saying this as an outside looking in kind of deal. You know, I just feel like you're used to it as a Switch user. That your game is going to get delayed, or it's going to be a later bit of port because that's what we did with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remaster. So with Doom Eternal, that's what they did with this. Like more recently, is that even Life is Strange True Colors, like you said, got delayed. So I just feel like if you're a Switch user, you're kind of used to this at this point. But again, that's coming from me, who I like playing on my Switch. I do, but I wouldn't consider myself a Switch user. I wouldn't consider myself a Nintendo fan, you know? So I'm only speaking out from the outside, and you as well. You're a PlayStation user.
Yes.
So you can only speak from the outside in of like how a Nintendo fan would feel like in his time. But I feel like they're used to it, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you, because obviously, like, if you play FIFA, for example, and that they drop you legacy editions from EA. And basically this, my favorite one as well. But if you want to hear something funny, was like one of their FIFA reviews. Which was legacy edition. I think it was maybe FIFA 21, and IGN basically copy and pasted their FIFA 20 review into the FIFA 21, and then put at the top saying that FIFA basically, because EA can't be bothered making a new FIFA game. We're gonna just put the exact same review, but also like change the top of it, which is hilarious. It went viral on Reddit actually. But yeah, they do get a rough ride to Switch, which is annoying because like obviously their platform is like really heavily supported the first party games, and they're insanely good as it is. But I just feel like with this, again, has like kind of echoed what I said for many months, which was basically that this game, True Colors and the Remastered Collection was still a bit out in terms of having time to be polished up. And they delivered on the True Colors release, but obviously you saw that Wavelengths got pushed back, and then obviously the Remastered Collection got completely pushed back on all platforms.
I didn't know Wavelengths also got pushed back for the Switch too.
No, sorry, not on Switch. On our normal consoles, because I remember, was it not meant to launch on launch?
Okay.
And then it was launched like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 2 weeks. It feels like lifetime. But like, it was launched a couple of weeks after the first game, after True Colors. And then you had, the space that when we were expecting the Remastered Collection, those all got pushed back, which was maybe because of the early footage and like the reaction they got. But I think that it was really ambitious, because I remember they announced it was like, yeah, you get True Colors and you get the Remastered Collection and the Wavelengths DLC. It's like, Jesus Christ! I was like, this is a little bit, this is a lot of work. It's just Deck 9 doing it as well. With obviously, I mentioned Square Enix's like internal development team helping them, but it was a lot. So I feel like this is kind of like echoing my thing, where I feel like this has been a rough ride for like just some of the Life is Strange games they've been putting out. It's like we're developing, we're polishing up, and in the end, I feel like obviously you will get satisfied. Hopefully, like I think most people were with True Colors, and obviously I think like with which we will probably talk about in our main topic, the first footage of the Remastered Collection. I'm definitely sure we will be talking about it. It's kind of a good sign for it, but I just think it's just a little bit disappointing to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just it. It's a little disappointing, but did it say? So it didn't even give a date. It just said early 2022.
Yeah, just said later this year. Not even early 2022.
It says later.
I believe it said.
Does it say later or does it say earlier? Because holy crap!
I'll let you check that again, because I just closed my tab, unfortunately. Which is so annoying. But
it says later this year. So if it said spring 2022, that could be April, even could be like later May.
Yes.
Later this year could mean literally anything. It could be coming out in July, September. If it comes out in September, like the actual September 10th, a year after True Colors comes out, I don't see that happening. If I'm going to guess, if I'm going to say a guess, if your problem is being Sherlock Holmes, my problem as an American is being a high better and just being too confident in myself and saying like it's going to come out this day. I think this is going to come out middle of May. I think it's going to come out middle of May, maybe early June. for Switch users. I don't think they're going to delay it for that long. There's no way they would.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to come out in March or April. It's going to come out either mid-May, early June, if I'm right.
I'm kind of with you. I think it's going to be a summer window, probably maybe even July, August, I think, around that frame.
Yeah, I don't want it to be July, August, but I think that's a realistic one. Whereas I think they're going to try to shoot for early June at the latest, but I think it's really actually going to come out like mid-July.
Yeah, like I think obviously they want to get out as soon as possible, but like I think obviously there's just like things like it's so different from like making the game on the Switch compared to like actually on the other consoles. Like you can pretty much make them across the range with like PlayStation, Xbox in terms of like, having a bit more of a smooth ride in terms of like getting something. But I feel like the Switch one is going to be a little bit of way. I think when I saw the news and I saw the when it said like, later this year, I was a bit like, I was like, oof. Yeah, it's not even like it's a month or 2 hours. It's like this kind of like an indefinite kind of stamp on it. But you will get it. I'm just kind of like I was just a little bit. It was just. I wish like there was a bit more like time with like had because of like if we mapped the last couple of 6 months or so out, like we could have like they should have really launched True Colors first and then dropped the Remastered Collection a month later and like had it already fixed in. But obviously that whatever it was on the development side, the pandemic, whatever it was kind of affecting development has kind of like really essentially caused this. But yeah, we will definitely keep an eye out for more of the Switch news. Definitely going forward.
Oh yeah, for sure. But nonetheless, just a little bit of a bummer. Yeah,
absolutely. So we're going to go for some very interesting news. This really caught my eye. It's really randomly caught my eye, and I sent it to Adam, and he was kind of like, very similar to me. So we're going to a website called Upload VR, and they've reported that Life is Strange Before the Storm VR mod has been released. So this is an unofficial mod. This is not released by Square Enix or Dontnod. This is an unofficial VR mod. So developer Trev TV released the mod early this month. It supports VR controllers, though mainly through mapping buttons to those controllers. Given that there isn't much room for motion controlled interaction in a Life is Strange game, also note that there isn't support for the original Life is Strange series. Before the Storm is a 3-part prequel to the game. No word yet on if we could see other games in the series get VR support. Let's have a quick look. This might not be obvious choice for a VR mod, but it will definitely be interesting to see how VR can affect the player's relationship with characters in the story-driven series. Not a huge amount of that. Obviously, I haven't tried the VR mod yet. I don't have a VR headset, but I just thought it was a really interesting topic to explore about it because, like, VR is like still they are really pushing for it, and I think you're going to keep seeing it push with the metaverse as well. I fucking hate that word. I hope you guys. I hope all you listeners are as well, because that and NFTs really rub me the wrong way. So, but you can get an NFT minted StrangeCast logo if you want. I will be willing to sell that to you, because if you are willing to buy that, you are absolutely stupid. But anyway, back to this news. I just thought it was really interesting because, like they have to change, like it says in the article, they have to change a lot of stuff, and it's not going to really be built for VR. But I wouldn't be surprised if Life is Strange tries to do something VR related. There's like a lot of series that have tried it, like even like PlayStation have tried to do it with Horizon, the new game that they're doing, the kind of like getting a VR kind of supplement to it.
Resident Evil 4 VR.
Resident Evil 4 VR, fucking hell, that game will be on everything. That game will continue to be released even after this podcast is extinct. After
Skyrim releases are bad, like Resident Evil 4 releases are
there are 3 things you can guarantee in life, which is death, taxes, and GTA 5, Skyrim, and Resident Evil 4 getting ported onto a console. They are like absolutely 3 things I will hand my heart for that. But actually, onto this news though, I thought it was just really interesting because like, we haven't really ever heard, from what I can tell, just off the top of my head, that Square Enix ever kind of explored this topic. I still think the VR narrative is going to bang on for a bit. I don't have the belief it's going to be the next big thing. I just think that it's a niche market. I don't think many people want to sit in a room with a massive headset on their head, like, trying to explore whatever. But it has potential, the Life is Strange, doesn't it? Because obviously you're living the life through the eyes of a teenager in all of the games so far, like, young women, young men, and you're kind of like exploring it. And it has that kind of like feeling where I feel like if you were in the first person, like living it through their eyes, I think maybe it has even more of like a poignant kind of like impact on you. But yeah, I'll let you have this. What do you think?
I think it can go either way, honestly. And it is kind of like thing of like, yeah, you get to know the characters more, but here's the problem with Life is Strange in particular. We're falling in love with the main character. We're not okay. So you may disagree with me on this, but I don't really feel like we are living our lives through these characters, these main characters. We don't really connect with Max in that way. We just really feel for Max. We're seeing the eyes of Max, right? It's kind of out there. I don't know, but I feel with Life is Strange games, we're really connecting with the main character and just understanding them as a character. We're not really trying to implement our own lives into this. In fact, I feel like that's the wrong way to play a Life is Strange game, to try to implement your own choices here. But I really think it's like understanding another person's life, another person's struggles, another person's kind of beliefs even. Let's say, for example, Life is Strange 2, let's say, as I'll go here. As a white man living in America who's Christian, a straight white male who is a Christian living in America, I don't have this sort of mindset and those sort of experiences that Sean had in Life is Strange 2. So I'll take that for an example. Like going for Life is Strange 2 in VR could have impacted me more being in that first person spot and being treated in this such a way. Would that impact me more, or seeing how it affects Sean, like as a person who is expecting this and has been his whole life expecting this? You know what I mean here? It's kind of like, it's a wild idea, but I feel like we're kind of experiencing someone else's life through a Life is Strange game rather than trying to be ourselves in a Life is Strange game. Does that make any sort of sense?
Yeah, I 50-50 agree and disagree with you, because I think you're right about you are basically living someone else's life. And I think obviously the first game is an example of a coming of age story. You follow the coming of age story of Max Caulfield. Mm-hmm. But I think because of how grounded it is in terms of like the scenario, I think people basically see it through their eyes. I think I could stand in Max's shoes and see it from her perspective of what she's going through. And then also even like, I hate, for example, I think you're a Life is Strange gamer, you've probably seen this video that pops up every time on YouTube's algorithm one, where it's like the worst best friend, and it's a picture of Chloe.
Yes.
Yes. I've never watched that video because it pisses me off seeing the thumbnail, and even the title. I'm sorry about dropping all these kind of words, but I'll try and tone it down. What annoys me about it is because like the way it's kind of perceived, it's like you're saying that Chloe's bad, and I never saw that when I first thingy. When she's in that car in the first game, like when Max realizes it's Chloe and she jumps in the car and they drive down, and you can see that Chloe's being a little bit, like iffy. I see it from her perspective, Chloe. I'm like, her best friend has just come back after 5 years after like really, basically alienating her. I know that she owes anything, Max, in terms of to Chloe, but you feel like you've been like isolated there. She's lost her dad, which we obviously learn more and more in the game. Also, Rachel Amber's gone, and like that was the last connection that Chloe really had with someone meaningful. So I see in those kind of like three things what's manifesting in this person. And me and Day actually had a conversation in a later segment, which was like she disagrees where I stand with Rachel Amber. She says that she's manipulative. She doesn't like how she's seen him before. So I don't see that with Rachel Amber. I see it completely different. Because I don't think that she's manipulating in any kind of way, shape, or form. I think there's a complete difference of how I see what she's doing.
I agree.
And I think there's a completely... But as you said, like, I respect just hearing her opinion on how it is, and same with yours. But I think with certain characters, I think you find it interesting. Obviously, I'm not Hispanic. I saw the Diaz brothers story. I've obviously seen racism myself. I think even if as a white person, you can see racism as well. I think it's a really, for me personally, you can say that white privilege is a great thing, but at the same time, I think that you can experience quite heavy racism because you are white. You kind of get put in that bracket where it's like, because you're white, you've never seen it. It's like, but that's in itself quite very.
Like on a personal note, like because, I'm a white male living in America, there's other white males will think that, I'm one of them, and they will spill their mind on me as a fellow white man. I'm just like, oh boy, let's talk for a minute.
Yeah, it's very easy to kind of like put lick of bait across everyone and say that there's certain experience you can't experience. I think you can experience, but I feel like when you kind of like step into obviously the shoes of like the Diaz brothers, you kind of see like what's going on through that, like, there, and in itself as well, like if you you're saying like you're a white man, you never experienced like, what the Diaz brothers gone through. No, the developers necessarily haven't, because like, Michelle's not Hispanic, neither's Luke, neither's Raul. Like, but they've seen things. They were very on point with the messages they were sending. I know a lot of people
they're not even American at that.
Exactly. And that's what I find fascinating with like how they make games. Like even when they made the first Life is Strange, they're French developers. They've gone to other places in the world. They've got such a heavy influence from like American culture, from everything else. And this is what fascinates me when you pick apart a game. Like even with like, again, Kojima, I haven't got the posters here, I'm on the other side of the room, but like, a Japanese developer making a game about a westernized American kind of like setting. It's like where, what's the fascinating insight about what makes him think this in this kind of way? So kind of like in your nutshell, I see what you're saying. I agree with it, but I think like the VR experience would change it. Like just you seeing certain things. If like, for example, you're seeing like certain scenes through Chloe's eyes, I think it would resonate a bit more. I wouldn't want a Life is Strange game fully developed for VR. I think like, it would be, I think it'd be interesting to have like, for example, if we're having this kind of conversation, which was like that, say the Adventures of Captain Spirit were made with a VR headset in mind. And then obviously the main game was made as it was, which would have added a very interesting spin-off element to Captain Spirit as it is. I would have found that really fascinating to kind of like sit there and see it through the eyes of like, obviously Chris, you're that little young boy. And I think you even spoke how much your story with Chris resonated, where it's like, you felt that was really potent story. But like,
that would broke me so hard, dude.
Yeah. I think there's a certain sense of VR. I think like, I haven't think it's fully being fleshed out, but I think if you put the headset on, you start seeing it through someone's eyes. And I think that's what you do with a lot of video games. You kind of project yourself on someone. And even if it's a female protagonist like Max, you don't necessarily look at just her gender for it. You just kind of like see it through the eyes of that person, like what they're going through, X, Y, Z, ABC. But in itself, I just found it really interesting that this person has made a VR mod. I might even try and reach out to them and get them on here at some point. But
yeah,
I think like, I think it's just really fascinating to kind of like see someone make a mod about it, and in a game where you'd always think that there's VR potential. There's definitely VR potential. Even though obviously I think like the main kind of factors are like, choice and consequence, all that other stuff. But I think like the main ongoing story, to see it through someone's eyes, through Alex Chen's eyes, through like Max's eyes, through John and Daniel's, I think it was just something in itself that caught my eye for this.
No, it's interesting, and I think that's good for them for actually like taking the time to actually do it. Who am I to say it's like, like why would you do that? Why would you do that with your time? It's like, it's cool, man. Like you actually got like VR content. Now I would challenge them when you were talking about like a certain scene like that you have to play in VR. The pulling the plug on Chloe, that you have to do in VR. Like that would be a challenge, dude. Holy cow. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Like Chloe asking you to pull her plug.
I think like that's what like one of those, for example, like that scene that you just said is like hits you. Imagine standing there in that scene where Sean is singing in front of the racist. You kind of like degrades him. Yep. Then think about doing the scene like The Tempest. Think about a scene like when you're watching Chloe get shot. Think about the scene where you're like lying as Max, who's been like, drugged by Jefferson. Then he shoots Chloe in the head. I hope you play the first Life is Strange, because oh fucking hell, you haven't. I just smell like so many scenes. God Almighty help you. But like all those scenes, I think really would change the layer of the game. I don't think everyone's going to buy a game in VR. As I said, I still think it's quite niche VR. And I think like it wouldn't really appeal to the mainstream Life is Strange. I just think this in itself, someone doing it, really makes you ask questions about what you can really do with Life is Strange. I don't think we've seen the full potential of a Life is Strange game. I think like True Colors has kind of like molded its way a little bit away from the first Life is Strange, and it kind of like had advancements. But I think they're going to try and the scope will be bigger. It'll continue to get bigger. I think they want to go even bigger with making a project like that, because it's still quite linear in the sense.
If I had to describe this in one word, it's stunning. Like it's absolutely stunning.
Absolutely stunning. Oh God, I hate you. But I think like, I'm one of those people that would be intrigued if you do have a Steam, if you can access the mod, I think you should definitely check it out, because I think that's just something that's right up the alley for any Life is Strange fan. Adam, do you have anything else out?
No, not on this topic. No, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. So we are now going to go get rid of Adam at this point. Yeah. Not that.
Before we get into the Dayeanne thing, I know I just said the storming thing, but like I just want to clear the air here. Like we're still mates here, yeah. I make fun of your accent a lot, but like we're still mates.
Yeah, we're still mates. I'm not going to say anything.
We're cool. Like me and you are cool, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm not going to say anything bad about you in the next segment with Dayeanne. Don't worry. We're going to.
You would never like actually like you wouldn't. You don't think of me as like frankly annoying, do you?
Absolutely not. I would never say that word. So in this process, for the first time ever, we are going to get rid of Adam at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to move into the segment with Day. So I hope you enjoy this. Okay, guys. So we're cutting to this segment. I've got rid of my frankly annoying co-host. He doesn't realize how much I'm annoyed with him by imitating my British accent. But we got rid of Adam and we're replacing him with someone even greater. She is none other than the voice of Kate Marsh, Alyssa, Juliet. She's a Life is Strange OG, Dayeanne Hutton. Dayeanne, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
No, absolutely. When I saw your tweet, I was like, how did we not even get Day on here just before the Remastered Collection? I had to reach out and thank you for taking the time to get on here.
Of course.
It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you again. Obviously, Day has been on Life After Strange. She was, I think, episode 4. It was very early on, and that series has gone quite far, and it was a really entertaining talk then. But Day, there's so much to talk about right now. Obviously, there's loads of fans' questions, which I'm going to put in, but I'm going to kind of start off with you because this is quite interesting because obviously we've got the Remastered Collection coming out next week, early February.
So soon.
Yeah, so soon. And, I've had like a long history of this franchise dating back to when it was released. You have even bigger connection than me. But in this week as well, we're recording on the Tuesday, and this is the week when Life is Strange came out 7 years ago. So you have 7 years ago anniversary. You have Life is Strange Remastered Collection. How are you feeling?
So old. I feel old. I feel so old. I'm really excited. I'm super excited. I actually just finished watching the new trailer they released and the new longer gameplay of the remaster. I'm just really excited. I'm so excited to go through it all again on my own Twitch channel. It's been several years since we went through the original games. I obviously just finished playing True Colors when that came out. But we're planning like a whole marathon of all of it. And I'm excited for it to get more new life breathed into it.
Oh, absolutely. And we have like a lot of stuff planned for the Remastered Collection on here, including this podcast and including discussions. And I like that you mentioned your Twitch stream because it's obviously a big part of your life since Life is Strange. And I kind of wanted to ask you, what were your thoughts when you saw the Remastered Collection, this trailer that they just dropped and these 2 clips?
Their eyes are so pretty. Like that was like my biggest takeaways. Everyone's eyes, like it had such good eye light and their eyes just looked so good. I was like, all right. Other than that, like it was just nice. Like it's obviously, it's not like a game from even earlier that is going to have this like massive change in look and feel, but it does make a difference. It does bring the characters to life just that much more.
Absolutely. I loved watching it. It was so nice to see the lip sync really hit the nail, and the motion capture definitely. Yeah, it was. I've always said to Adam, it's the biggest criticism that came to Life is Strange in the first one, including myself, which I don't really like to acknowledge, but I did criticize it at the time. But it was really great to see it, and obviously, I imagine that I kind of want to take you back a bit as well, because obviously you saw the Remastered Collection. The first trailer they dropped for it, and we did our last episode where we were talking about should we be nervous about it, because like there was a lot, the footage was like it seemed quite early in development if anything, and it just didn't seem completely rendered. Obviously we now see this footage and I've seen a huge swing in reaction of people saying that it looks better. I kind of have to ask you, were you worried that maybe there would be something about this game that wasn't right in terms of maybe they didn't have a license for the songs at first? Obviously we know that they have licenses for the song, but did you have any worries at first thinking that maybe it doesn't live up to what you hope in your mind?
Not really, but I think that's also just because I come at it from a different space, right? Like I'm not coming from it as just like I found this game randomly, it changed my life, and I have like these really like set ways I don't have anything like precious about it in that way. I was just excited to see what happened, and I hoped for the fans' sake that it ended up looking better than that first released one, because I did see a lot of people questioning things, and I really hoped for everyone's sake that it had enough of a change to warrant a remaster. I, of course, wish I could have done the mocap for the remaster, but, you know, c'est la vie. But yeah, I just really, really wanted it to be done right for the fans, because I know how much it means to some of them. And so I wanted it done right by them.
Absolutely. And obviously, I know that the motion capture was done quite differently in the first Life is Strange, because Gabriella did your character and she didn't do the motion capture for this game. So
yeah, they did the motion capture in France first, and then this time it was in Colorado with Deck 9, right? As far as I know. Yeah,
so they did it in mocap labs in France for Dontnod and Michelle and Raoul, and then they did this one in the in-house Deck 9 studio. So it is different from that kind of side, but I'm kind of glad that you did see it in the same way, where it's like it was reassuring where Life is Strange is going right now. And I kind of have to ask you, you know, we didn't see Kate Marsh. Obviously, they were very specific with the scenes, but I imagine that you're just absolutely going wild to see your free characters. Back in the day where you voiced free characters, not just the one, but the free characters. I bet you must be going crazy just to see them characters.
Well, I did get to see them finally, because if you watch, there's like a 6-minute extended gameplay of the new trailer that I did not find at first, because I watched the like 2-minute one and I was like, still no Kate, why? But if you watch the gameplay one, you do get a bit of the first rewound classroom scene, and you like see her get hit. So it wasn't like super, it was pretty quick. You also saw, starts with Juliet walking by. I was like, that's me. So like I've kind of gotten to see them, but not in depth, not in a close up, not focused on. And yeah, I can't wait for 4K. I'm so excited.
It's going to be very exciting. I didn't see that because I only saw the bathroom clip that they posted on Twitter, and I saw the I think 2-minute clip of another scene, but I didn't like get the full you know, watching time. I didn't realize they dropped the full thing, so I will have to watch
I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link to
yeah, I will have to check, because I think when people realize we've been filming this in different structures this episode, because obviously me and Adam recording the rest of the episode on Wednesday, but we're doing this segment first. But no, obviously, you know, as I said, exciting. I kind of have to obviously address this is a remaster. You won't call back for any lines. You won't record back for any recording.
No, not at all. And I like to think that if it had still been like COVID pandemic times, like maybe they would have asked us to come in and do mocap, but that might just be wishful thinking, because I'm desperate to get in a mocap soon.
I hope so as well. I think you'd be absolute delight in motion capture suit. I'm sure that experience will come for you at some point.
Thank you.
I have to ask you though, what scene you're most excited about seeing in the Remastered Collection?
Ooh, that is a good question. My favorite. Let's see. I really am looking forward to seeing the hospital scene, just because it's just like my favorite scene for Kate, because it's the only time she's happy. It feels like in the game. I'm excited for all the nature shots too, because they're in one of the trailers I was watching. They had the shot of like the deer with like the forest behind it, and it was just so gorgeous. I was like, I want to go to there. But definitely, I don't know. There's so many good scenes, and I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Absolutely. Are there any plans to play the original Life is Strange before this one? Or are you just going to go straight into the Remastered Collection again?
I'm just going to go straight into the Remastered Collection. I don't think I could emotionally handle that much Life is Strange. I don't know how some of these fans do it. They're like, I've played through this game 20 times. And I'm like, I can't do that for my mental health.
Yeah, I haven't played it for quite a few years, and I'm itching to go back to it. And I think that this is a perfect time for me. But before I kind of move into the fan questions, because there's quite a lot, and I want to get all these in actually, because they're all great.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, what were your thoughts about True Colors when you played through it?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was really great. I definitely feel like this is how I felt. It seemed like they looked at the first Life is Strange, which was obviously more popular than Life is Strange 2, and they were like, what worked? And then they kind of took that and they redid it in a different way, which is usually how like a good sequel or whatever, they'll like take what worked and do it again. So you had your like female protagonist, you had this like kind of love, well, there's not really a love I guess with Warren, but a more difficult love triangle, I'll say. At least for me. I loved Ryan. I thought Ryan was great. And so I saw a lot of similarities. I loved the emoting, emotional power sort of thing with all the colors was beautiful. And obviously they were like, oh, what was one of our most popular things? The D&D game. Okay, let's have an entire episode where we LARP. Like, that was so brilliant. That was so fun. And it really gave you a very like lighthearted section that I loved.
No, I agree with you. And I still need to go back and change my opinion in True Colors, because I was personally in the mind when I spoke to Adam, I thought it borrowed too much from the first Life is Strange. Would you agree with me, or would you feel any different? I kind of want to hear your perspective, because you've played through them, you've seen it, and you kind of mentioned where I was going to go with the conversation. But I'd like to hear, like, do you think it borrowed too much, or do you think they got the right balance with it?
It's a good question. And I really think again, I feel like it so depends on the person and how precious you hold each game to you, I think. Because I could see, I don't know, I found most people really liked it. And I think it was because it borrowed so much. Because all people wanted was a continuation of the first story. And this, like, it's obviously not a continuation of the first story, but it gave that feel of like, this is the same world, versus Life is Strange 2 was like way more removed, even though it was in the same universe. So I don't know, like, was it a little fan servicey? Yeah, but that's what the fans wanted. So doesn't that make it a good game for them?
Very true. I think like I saw a lot of polarizing opinions on Life is Strange 2, and I think this was kind of almost like a good safety mechanic for them to kind of go back and set a very similar story. And before I go into fan questions, I do have to ask you, because you were kind of mentioning him in between this conversation, which is where did you go in the love direction? Did you go Alex and Ryan, or did you go Alex and Steph?
So, okay, first of all, also I want to say before anyone like comes to me, I personally loved Life is Strange 2. So I'm not of the, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It deserves more love.
Thank you. If Adam is listening back to this, Adam, this is why you are a Life is Strange 2 hater. Day likes it, everyone else likes it. You need to go back and play it. Me and him are going to do an episode. Because
so many people who don't like it though, and it makes me so sad. So
great. But Day, please continue. Where did you go with this?
So with I played through it twice. So my first playthrough, I chose Ryan because I knew no one would. Essentially, I knew no one was going to choose Ryan. So I was like, I'm planning on putting this on YouTube. No one's going to choose Ryan. I want to put something up for people who are like, what did the Ryan romance look like? You know, I thought he was adorable. I have such a soft spot in my heart for himbos. He was just like a himbo. I have new headcanon where he and Kate deserve to be together forever. Because they're both just sweet and love animals. So I did romance Ryan first, and then I played a second time with the crowd control extension on my channel so that chat could choose through me. And then we romanced Steph because I knew they would choose that. So I chose the opposite the first time around. Because we obviously had to see all that glory that Katie Bentz did eventually. But I did want to give people... and so many people came into my stream and they were like, oh, wow, yeah, I haven't seen anyone romance Ryan yet. This is interesting. And I was like, you're welcome.
Yeah, you were definitely in the minority in that selection. And you played a very good algorithm game there to get the Ryan stuff out first. So kudos to you. And actually,
thank you.
One more question as well, actually, before I move into the fan question. I will go into the fan question next. But I have to ask you, obviously, we played through True Colors. We had the Wavelengths DLC. We saw people come back. Obviously, big characters like Katie's came back, Steph for a big one. We also saw the other characters like, small cameos.
Dream.
Yeah, I know.
Like, anyone want to bring back Kate?
That's what I was going to ask you, because obviously we spoke about 8 years ago about, would you reprise go, or would you want to go? You must still remain optimistic that the Life is Strange universe is so big that it keeps getting more characters that we might even see a glimpse of Kate Marsh at some point in the future.
I would obviously adore that. I would die. I'd be so happy, but I don't know if I'm optimistic, just because I feel like they're very much like, well, because so many people could have killed Kate, like, she's not coming back. But my argument is like, so many people could have killed Chloe, and you keep bringing options to like have her not dead. Like, you just click at the beginning, did you save the Bay or not? Click, did you save Kate or not? Boom, bring Kate back.
True. And like I said, I hope we see it at some point, and I will move into
Juliet. or Alyssa, whatever.
Exactly. This is the benefit when you voice free characters as well, Day. Like you voice free, you have an option of like, one of them coming back at least in some kind of capacity. But yeah, thank you for that insight. Obviously, we put out on Twitter that you were coming on the show. Obviously, a lot of people responded with a load of tweets and questions. I got some really interesting ones. We're going to start with one which is from Geekwave, Twitter user. And they put, have you played Life is Strange 1 in Japanese dub with English subtitles or heard the voice of Japanese Kate? If you have, what do you think of the Japanese version?
I haven't. That's a really interesting question. I never even thought of doing that, but that's actually really cool. I bet Japanese Kate has an adorable voice. Adorable voice. I can talk.
She's played by Hana Takeda, but I believe there could be a good YouTube series for you.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. I'm gonna write that down. Thanks.
Absolutely. Next question was from Bird Boy, and it says, any new voice gigs that you're in that we should know about?
I wish. No, not currently. Not currently. Non-voice gig I do have in February as well, coming out. A project I've been working on since pre-pandemic, and it's a Scooby-Doo project where I get to play Velma. It's called Mystery Incorporated. Our pilot episode comes out in February, and I'm so heckin' excited for it.
That character's made for you. I've seen the pictures. I've seen all the updates that you've done. In that as well, I was going to ask you. You've done a revamp Twitch that you've done. You kind of put an update of like where you're going with Twitch, not leaving Twitch as you've repeated repeatedly to people, and then obviously the pandemic happened with acting, work, everything else. How has it been like restructuring your life pretty much across all that period as an actor and then even a streamer as well?
Well, I mean, I was lucky to have been a streamer when everything kind of shut down because I got to keep working, and that was great. And then same with voiceover. The voiceover industry didn't really shut down. Everyone kind of just moved. Either they already had home studios, they made home studios, or, companies sent them stuff to record off of. And we converted a tiny little closet we have. And I did end up getting early on in the pandemic a voiceover agent. So I did get to start auditioning more. I took tons of classes and, still trying to book the things, but, getting more auditions under my belt, which is always good. And I don't know, I find about, 2.5 years into all of this, I really had to restructure the streaming stuff because the thing that was like a blessing at first is becoming a curse because it's like now it's all I think about because it was all I had to do for so long with nothing to break it up. No like vacations to go on or events to do or things. So now I'm kind of working through some creative burnout that is like, I can't content anymore. It's all I've done for 2 years. But rebranding has definitely breathed some new life into that as well.
Absolutely. I think you need to take time as well. And it's probably the best. And we'll see Day go beyond this and hopefully more VO gigs. I know how relentless the industry is. So, I look forward to seeing more stuff. I feel like,
it's a lot of people trying to do it. And the blessing and the curse with the pandemic and everyone recording from home is now you can record from anywhere, which is great. But it also means there's a much larger pool of people they're choosing from. So, pros and cons everywhere.
Absolutely. I feel like, Michelle and Luke sometimes listen to this, so they should hire you for their new game.
Listen, I wish. If you're listening, guys, I'm down, but let me know.
She's available.
I'm available.
We'll move into the next question. This is from Emmy, a bit more into Life is Strange fandom. She said, how do you feel about all the ships like Marshfield and stuff? And are you somehow similar to Kate a little bit?
So as far as ships go, my general belief consensus is like, y'all ship who you want to ship, do your thing, whatever. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to agree with it. I support you in all that you do and you ship. But as for how much like Kate I am, I mean, it's funny. I joke that in reality, Hannah is Kate in real life and I'm Max in real life. I grew up going to Catholic school, and so I definitely knew that intense religious background going into it. Like I had a deep understanding of that. And I've said before, we all were teenagers and had hard times and felt down and felt alone. So I was able to connect to her there. But I feel like I'm not like ridiculously similar to her. I'm more of the awkward indie Max type.
I can see that. And yeah, as I've spoken to Hannah before, you can kind of see the Kate Marsh vibes that she gives as well. So very good answer.
She's precious. You want to protect her.
She is. She's the most precious human being we've got on here, aside from yourself. So we need to make sure that both those people stay as protected as possible. We're going to move into a question from Zoe Charlie. They asked, do you have any specific scenes you had the most fun recording?
Most fun recording? Y'all know my character, right? I guess probably the hospital scene, because it's the only time I got to do a happy Kate, like a thankful Kate, a grateful Kate. So that was like a nice, excuse me, that was a nice change of pace. I also did have fun recording Nightmare Scene Kate. I don't know if it all made it into the cut, but I liked getting to be kind of like creepy evil. That was fun.
Very good. And we're going to keep the mood going down like this. And it kind of falls, like you just said, with Kate's, like, what her scenes were like. This is from I Am Jazz, and it says, what's your favorite Kate moment?
I feel bad. Like I feel like I'm going to just keep coming back to the hospital scene because there's all the other stuff was really hard. Like it was really sad. But my favorite line of hers is the line about like, I'm giving the flowers to all the other patients. I'm keeping the balloons though. Like hands down is my favorite line. Cause I think it's just so cute that she's being giving and gracious and giving away these flowers, but she's also keeping something for herself that makes her happy. And that was just like such a good moment for me.
It is, absolutely. And I know you say you don't really mark into the the shipping part, but this is a question we do kind of have to address, which is, are you more Amber Price or Price Field?
I'm definitely, this is one where I do have an opinion. I'm definitely Price Field, and Rachel fans are going to come for me. But all I got from BTS was that she's incredibly manipulative, and she was just using Chloe to like get out. I would get away and get away from her parents and upset her parents. And I just found her incredibly manipulative. And I also found Chloe manipulative towards Max at first as well. But their relationship feels more real to me. I can't ever tell if I believe Rachel. So definitely.
So I'm gonna because unfortunately you say the Rachel fans are gonna come for you. Rachel Amber's my favorite character in the series, so I need to pick you on something. Do you not think that adds to the mystery of her, that you couldn't tell if she was actually manipulating Chloe or not, if she was just completely lost? That maybe it was. I didn't
need mystery from Rachel. I was like, this is another human being. Are you using her? I feel like you're using her. So that's how I felt. Sorry.
No, we'll disagree on that one. It's probably best to not start a warfare on this, but I thought I'd ask that. Thank you for that question. We almost created complete history. Who was your favorite character to voice act? This is from Eruptor on Sticks. Very interesting Twitter username, but yes.
Well, probably Kate, because she was my main one. So she was what I was originally hired to do. So definitely Kate.
Okay, so we're gonna go to @Shay00. This was a question: what was the cringiest / funniest line you remember from any of your characters?
Sure. So 2 things come to mind. I had to, and I don't actually know if this was a character of mine or just like I was recording some extra noises for the party, but I had to record a bunch of vomiting noises that I don't think even got used. And that was super cringy for me. I was so like awkward. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll pretend to vomit. And then for Alyssa, there was when she gets hit with the pool noodle, it was originally water weenie. And I was like, because Michelle and I think Luke were like on not FaceTime, but like a Zoom or a call with us live. So, and they could type in rewrites on like a projected screen for us. And we were like, no one really calls them water weenies. They call them pool noodles. it might be weird if we call them water weenies. And I just always thought that was really funny. And so they had me do it 2 different ways, and he like typed out new lines for me with pool noodle.
That's amazing. I remember the first story you told me because that was Philip Bark's little, as he does as well. We got another question from @MellowGayDuck, which is a great username, by the way. The second part of this question is really one of my favorites as well. Other than Kate, who's your favorite Life is Strange character? And also, what do you think about the anthology format for the series?
Hot Dog Man, hands down. Does that count? I don't know. It's my answer. And I think the anthology thing is really cool. And I think that was that might be why, like yourself included, felt that the third one was too close to the first one, because I think that's what, this is all conjecture, I don't know, but like, I think that's what Dontnod wanted to do, was make them more very separated. And then it was very clear that that wasn't what fans necessarily wanted. And so it was like, okay, they left Deck 9, went over and did more of like the closer to the first one vibes. But I think it's great. I love anthology stuff. I think it's really cool. I think it's really fun. I think it's great.
I'm absolutely with you, because obviously, like, I got the feeling that, obviously not speaking for them, but like I got the vibe of when they went to Life is Strange 2, they were completely going down the anthology road of like this.
They were like, we're done with them. Yeah. This is new now. And everyone was like, no.
I know, the disrespect to the Diaz brothers, I'll never get it. But we're going to go to a question from Twitter user Ollie Oliver, and I think you've answered one part of this, but I'll say the entire thing. How did you like all 3 of the characters you voiced? Which one of the 3 was your favorite? Do you feel like you related to any character more than the others?
I mean, yeah, Kate is like my favorite to voice. She's my girl. It was a lot of fun getting to create the characters in the booth at the time, because I only got hired knowing I was voicing Kate, and then when you got there, they gave us other roles. And yeah, obviously can relate to the loneliness of Kate and the feeling alone and feeling, I don't know, like the world is against you. Like I feel like everyone can relate to that in some aspect or some sense. What were the other parts of that question?
The other parts of that question were, which one of the 3 was your favorite, and do you feel like you related to any character more than the others?
No, I mean, just Kate is, it's like I had all of this story for Kate and very little for the other 2. So it's hard to relate to them as much.
Yeah, as you told us before, like they kind of gave you the other 2 characters whilst you were there, and then obviously a lot of the other actors got given characters that they didn't realize they were going to be doing. But we're going to go to Joshua Goji, who submitted a question saying, do you think any of the characters you voiced might reappear in future Life is Strange games? If so, which one would you want it to be? In brackets, all of them is a viable answer. I feel like that's going to be a cop-out. That's a bit of a cop-out, so I'm going to make you pick.
I won't do all of them. Obviously, I would love to come back. Someone would have to be, I don't even know, not to. I would love to come back. And technically, I mean, Juliet was in Before the Storm. I didn't get to voice her. But I would love for any of them to come back, as long as I get to voice them. Kate obviously would be the best one to come back. Though I will say that when I was on Webb's Twitch channel, and he interviewed me as well, and he told me that at first, like very first brainstorming of like characters to bring back, they were talking about, I was like, you're going to break my heart by telling me I could have had a job, Webb. But he was like, we were talking about like doing a story with Juliet. And I was like, that would have been great. Why don't we do that?
Well, if I remember correctly, were you part of SAG when this was happening?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be able to come after character, would you? Because that was in the middle of the Before the Storm Actors Union. Ooh.
Yep. Probably, yeah. That's why I'm not Juliet in Before the Storm.
Yeah, I feel like that it's a very interesting thing of like, obviously Hannah came back for Farewell and Ashley Birch and like some of the others, but like so many of the characters were changed during it. I think that maybe hit Deck 9, not taking away from any of the other performances, but it does hit home. Penultimate question. which is from Sonkima, which is asking, with Life is Strange playing into alternative universes, what would the alternative universe of Kate be like? Would she be a rebel like Chloe? Would she be a cat person? Would she get her own spin-off game? It's a great question, that.
Okay, so we're talking an alternate universe Kate, not Kate as she currently is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to change her. I see a lot of like punk rock Kate fan art. So maybe she would be into like the grunge scene, and I don't know. I could also see her being like still into God, but being in like a rock, like a Jesus rock band, like
Mm-hmm.
and being like more hardcore about it. What was the rest of that question?
It was, let's quickly go back through it. So with Life is Strange playing into alternative universes, what would the alternative universe of Kate be like? Would she be a rebel like Chloe? Would she be a cat person? Would she get her own spin-off game? Question mark.
Well, obviously she'd get her own spin-off
of
game.
course.
She's fantastic. I have people in my chat who are like, we want a Kate spin-off game about her writing her children's books and teaching against bullying. Or I have one community member that's like, why don't they get you to voice like one of Kate's sisters? Let's get a game of Kate's sister, like Lynn Marsh. It's got weird powers. I don't know. It's hard picturing Kate as rebellious or alternative, but I guess that's like, if you're going to an alternate universe where she's completely different, that would be the opposite. She'd be more like a Chloe character.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of see her being, turning away from that, cute and innocent. Well, they kind of did it with Chloe, actually, when you see her as a young kid and then
Sure.
says rebellious. But I have to ask you as well, before I move on to the final question. Let's say we take Kate, and obviously we've got so many games now. Which character would you like to see Kate with in a scene that hasn't been like any character from the Life is Strange universe? So we can talk about Sean, Daniel, Cassidy. I let you have a scene with one character, with your character. Which one would you pick and why?
Ryan. I want Kate and Ryan together. I want them together. Fine. Aside from Ryan, aside from Ryan, I'm like trying to remember all of the vast amounts of characters.
Yeah, we've got True Colors, we've got Life is Strange 2, Before the Storm. You got.
I think Kate and Lila could be fun.
Would be an interesting combination, that.
Yeah. I love Lila.
I think we should see more Lila personally, but
I do too.
yeah, that's the way of going with it with Life is Strange 2. And I'm going to end with this final question, Day, which is from some guy called Adam at Ace the Grocer. He submitted a question which was, how do you say oregano or Jaeger properly? Asking for my British friend.
Oregano, and I don't know what the second word is you're asking.
Wait,
you say it.
Was he saying Jaguar? I think he's saying Jaguar there. A Jaguar.
Oh,
Jaguar, sorry, yeah.
Oh, I was like, now Jaguar. I was saying oregano and Jaguar, but it's fancier when you say Jaguar.
There we go, and we've answered his question as well. Day, thank you so much for coming on. It's absolute pleasure having you. No, absolutely pleasure having you here. It was so great. I'm going to leave you here to plug before we leave. Where can people find you?
So people can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Dayeanne Hutton, and then on Twitch at Daydream TV. There's an underscore at the end, but you'll find it if you type in Daydream TV. I stream Thursdays through Sundays, 11 a.m. Pacific time to like 4 or 5 p.m. And like I said, Mystery Incorporated comes out next month, February, on YouTube. It's free to watch. Don't miss it. And I think that's it. I might be missing something. I have a subreddit now. Go follow my subreddit.
There we go. There's plenty of Dayeanne Hutton that you can keep following. Stay tuned. We're going to move Day out, unfortunately. We're going to bring Adam in, and we're going to move into our next segment. Day, thank you again for appearing.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that segment with Day.
That was such a good interview, man. Like, I'm so glad you said all those good things about me, I assume. Yeah.
Yes. I said very, very lovely words. Anyway, you will watch this and find out. We are going to go into our main topic, but obviously a big thank you to Day for coming on. We saw her tweet. It was mad that we didn't think about getting her on here in the first place, and it was an absolute privilege of getting her back on here. She's up there as one of the most incredible human beings ever. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. But we're going to go into our main topic. Obviously, we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, it's the biggest news. People waiting ages about this. It comes not long after our episode when we were talking about, Life is Strange Remastered should be me nervous not. So this is a little bit outdated, the article, because I actually had more footage that's been released since it. But I'm going to go to Eurogamer.
I'm actually looking up right now if they released more, because right before we started recording this, they released another piece of footage. And I was like, come on.
So we're going to keep getting it. But anyway, look, I'm going to read this while Adam quick looks anyway. So Life is Strange Remastered shows off 6 minutes of enhanced gameplay footage. So following a fairly significant delay last September, Life is Strange Remastered Collection is finally almost upon us, and in preparation for its February release, publisher Square Enix shared the first significant gameplay footage of its freshly spruced up Life is Strange 1. Square Enix's Life is Strange Remastered Collection bundles up the original Life is Strange alongside its prequel Before the Storm. We're both games set to receive enhanced visuals for characters and environment alongside engine and lighting upgrades as part of the release. The remastered work on the first game will, however, go a little bit further, introducing fully motion captured facial animations to remedy one particularly notable weakness of developer Dontnod's otherwise fondly remembered title. And all these changes have now received a fairly substantial showcase in Square Enix's latest video. The sequence featured comes extremely early in Life is Strange 1's first episode, titled Chrysalis. But if you're not familiar with the game's core premise and want to remain unsullied before playing it, do be aware that the trailer concludes with a significant reveal, which was basically it's the, if you haven't watched it yet, you probably have watched it, it's the actual school sequence where we see Chloe and Max in the bathroom with Nathan. We also see the classroom sequence, and then there's also like a little trailer at the end of it as well, with like a montage of other scenes. The overall effects of the remastered changes is definitely subtle, not immediately helped by the fact that Square Enix hasn't offered any side-by-side comparison for this particularly new gameplay video. They have since released side-by-side footage of certain segments, Square Enix, so you can kind of see the difference about it. But quick flick through the original sequence reveals some notable differences, with elements like improved hair for Max, better lip syncing, and more detailed environment textures and effects, helping to give the game a bit of a presentational nudge forward. In addition to the various technological enhancements coming as part of Life is Strange Remastered Collection, Square Enix previously confirmed Before the Storm will include the content from the original deluxe edition, so we've already kind of covered that anyway. So yes, that is our topic. Adam, I'm going to let you take it first because I've spoken the other ones first.
First of all, my reaction to it was highly impressed.
Was it stunning?
It was stunning. It was smashing, as you might say. No, like the very first thought that I went into when I saw this footage, when I saw this gameplay footage, was this is what a remaster should be, right? It shouldn't have to look like a remake. It shouldn't have to look like a reboot. It shouldn't have to look like all shiny and new. The very first thing I kept thinking was, this is probably exactly how they imagined Max to look like. But they didn't really have the technology, or I'll say the know-how to make it all look like that. Because, if you're a content creator on YouTube, if you're a musician, if you're some sort of artist that creates something, you probably look back on your earlier stuff when you really didn't know how, and you imagine it being so much better, right, than what it is. And it just wasn't. You look back on it like, oh, I have the knowledge of how to do that now. Like, I know what it should sound like or what it should look like. Maybe I'll do it again. And I think that's what that was my impression when I saw this. It just looked like somebody who knew what they were doing, and just like, oh, well, not to say that Dontnod didn't know what they were doing. Dayeanne, it's just like, I almost dug myself in a hole there. I mean, Michelle follows me now, so that was a close one. But it's like, it's someone who has more of a I'll just say more experience. Let's say that. And just merely touched it up to the way that it was supposed to look like, how they imagined it in the first place. Especially Max. Max looks much more, and I'll say this, she looks much more preppier now. She looks like someone who came out of a prep school in Seattle because she has the eyeshadow on. She looks much more, I don't want to say mature. She looks much more like presenting herself as like a preppy student, rather than before it was like this shy little girl, like, oh, you know. I can believe it now that she came out of Seattle. Let's put it that way, you know? And especially Chloe. Chloe looks much more pale. She's got like much more of a punk rock looker. You know, it looks like what they imagine these characters to look like. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we're recording on the 26th of January. This is Wednesday. So there'll probably be more content coming out. We've had that opening sequence that's come out. We've had the scene where Max and Chloe are in the office when they're obviously trying to find out a bit more details and sussing out their little, you know, investigating skills better than I do. And they've also done the scene with Max and Chloe at Joyce's house with what's his face there, Dayeanne Hutton. So
yes,
we got quite a few pieces of content from there. I really enjoyed seeing it. I'm not going to lie. I thought like where we were kind of where we saw the early remastered footage from, you know, almost last year, and kind of like that nerves that, and what we saw, I was like genuinely like smiling throughout the entire thing when I saw the facial animations fixed.
Sorry, I'm actually looking up the comparison video, and I'm just like looking at it like as we're talking, and I was just turning off the music right now. So
just ruin my segment, mate. And you wonder why.
I thought we were mates here. I'm sorry, dude.
And you wonder why I said those kind of things about Dave. But anyway,
oh no.
Yeah, you'll hear that. I said, I just when I saw Max talk, and you could see her face moving, you could see it with Ashley Birch's character Chloe, you could see it with Nathan, and that was what we wanted. As it says in the Eurogame article, it was a big criticism for the first game because obviously they did
criticisms. Yeah,
it was, and I take pride in the fact that I mentioned it because it was a flaw of Life is Strange 1. It was one of the visible flaws you could see from it because they did body performance capture where they basically Serena, Gabriella, the other motion capture actors came in. They shot it. I think it was 7-10 days or something. It was very quick. And they just did the body capture for it. So they were only capturing animations and for that, but they never did the faces. So like when they were trying to do lip syncing and you kind of like taking these voices, obviously like Hannah's, and she's like speaking and it's not reflecting in the emotion that Max is showing in her face. You're a bit like, hang on a minute. Like why, you know, the essence of Life is Strange 1 with the drama is like, you know, it's, you see these kind of signs in their face. You see Max upset, you see Chloe upset, you see kind of like the emotion from it. And you kind of see it more like when you go inside Before Storm, like, you know, when Chloe's smashing everything in the junkyard, you kind of want that kind of feelings for it. So like, I think I'm very like critical of people who really don't like this kind of happening because like, I think like anyone who thinks that like, you know, Square Enix is doing a cash grab, don't buy the game. No one's telling you to buy this game. This is for a new consumer base. The game is over is 7 years old. It's a long time, even in itself. Like to add these aesthetics as well, it does look a bit strange at times as well because like Max's hair, it kind of like just feels like it's added onto something that was like quite dated in terms of like, and it dated in a good sense. It's for its time that their art direction, their style, they were doing it in a specific way. So in itself, it will look quite different because of what they're trying to do. I think they're just basically enhancing it from what they had the experience with True Colors. They basically created a new Life is Strange game, which was really out there, really ambitious, really kind of like, you know, it's being seen in such a positive light from the audience. I think they wanted to do it with this and give it the same kind of treatment. So like in itself, when I watch it and I'm like watching these scenes, it's so good to kind of just see it, like the lighting being uplifted in certain places. I think you kind of need to put more emphasis on the faces, kind of seeing what they're saying. I think like, I can't sit here and anyone say to me like, oh yeah, I liked, you know, the first scene where like Max has the same face pretty much with like no lip syncing and like nothing saying that. Like it takes away from the experience. It was one of the things that basically when you noticed it in the first episode, it stuck with me for 5 in the original Dontnod game. I just kept watching it and obviously I was reviewing it. I had like my notes down when I was like playing. I got early access codes from like Square and I was like reviewing it. And it's the same one every single time. Like on my notes, it was like lip syncing. It was like lines underneath it and you could see it. It was like, I was like, I'm playing a very, very, very compelling drama. And it's like, you're watching it and you're like, this is annoying. It's like, for example, you can't do this anywhere. Watch Squid Games in English rather than watching it with it not being in the dub. because you see it, you see people, they're not like, you know, they don't emit the same emotion responses. I remember watching the first 2 episodes in like English, and I was like, I'm not watching this. I'm going to watch all of it in its original formatting, because I feel like those people try to obviously do their job as it is, but I feel like you're losing the emotional resonance from some of the actors. Like their way of pronunciating, it's just so much more hard hitting. So I was really like thrilled by just what I saw. Obviously, like there's nothing more than just being an uplift, a enhancement of everything. Like the engine was a problem in the first one as well. It was technical limitations. You saw that as a kind of flaw. From what I saw so far, it was good. And I enjoyed it. I think like a lot of the footage is exactly what I hoped for. You read my mind as well when I said that. You know, we haven't seen BTS yet. And, you know, this is only 1st of February. We're only 26th. But so obviously, I think that they're going to do Life is Strange 1 first, a couple of clips, and then they're going to move into BTS. I thought maybe they would try and like bounce back and forth and like, you know, show a bit more. Show me a bit more for it. But I think in itself, I think this is what the marketing team did. I think like when people say to me like weeks before, it's like, oh, we haven't got anything more. It's like the game sells itself. This is what they're going to do. They're just going to drop clips in between it, because it's like, you've seen Life is Strange. You know what it is. It's been out in 7 years in the market. BTS has been out for 5 years. You just need to see little things where you kind of like say to you, like, you know, if you have fear about the gameplay, it's like this. It's got the enhancements. And again, it's not for everyone. Like you know, it's going to cost you a fair bit of money to like drop on the Remastered Collection. But if you are a fan and you really want to enjoy it again, like in a different way, I would definitely pick it up.
Yeah, I'm actually. You read an article earlier about the BTS remaster, and it's not that I'm surprised that this is coming out in this way, but I just didn't really think about it. Where the BTS remaster is coming out as the deluxe edition of Before the Storm, where you get not just the farewell, but you get all the outfits from the deluxe edition. It's not that I'm like, oh, that's really cool of them. I'm like, oh, I didn't really think that they would do that. I thought they would just release the BTS, like the 3 episodes, and then Life is Strange, but they were including that deluxe edition.
It should absolutely be anything that is a collection should absolutely have everything. It's like when Activision released Call of Duty 4 Remastered, and then they left, and the map pack was released for like £11 or $15 in like US. And it's like, cool. I'm sorry, you're re-releasing it as a remaster. You put everything with it, and same with like Alan Wake remastered. They put the DLC with it. It's like you have to sell the product in its entirety. And also another thing I noticed in the trailer as well, we've got the music, which is
we have a Sid. We've got Sid in there. We haven't confirmed yet if all the artists are going to be in there yet.
I'm going to assume the deal that they probably struck with whoever they made the soundtrack with, like all they have a licensing agreement with like a lot of those songs. So like, I'm going to say maybe 20 years, I think maybe 15, 20 years would probably be kind of like an idea of like how long it is. So I think they're in safe territory. That's why I think like they're probably also doing the remaster. It's like, let's get it on a new platform and we can kind of like, you know, we have signed these agreements to kind of get the songs and the licensed tracks in the game.
They have to at this point. You know, because it is such an important part of the story. It is such an important thing. Like there is such a thing as a Life is Strange vibe song, and it comes from the soundtrack like of that. So it's very iconic. In the same way where a lot of people were disappointed, like they would have been disappointed, and I keep bringing it up, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remaster, if they didn't have any of the tracks from the original.
If you can't play Ace of Spades and like Tony Hawk, like what's the thing?
It is Guerrilla Radio from Tony Hawk. Like like there's no way.
And adding on to what you're saying as well with Tony Hawk, GTA Definitive Trilogy, it's not definitive if you don't have the songs that were making the soundtrack iconic on GTA Vice City. It's not definitive. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't be sorry. Like that's the thing. It's like no. But we have proof that that at least one of the songs is on there. Are all the songs on there? We don't know for sure, but like you said, I think they would be. I think they're smarter than that. I think they are going to do it. Like all the songs are going to be on there. They would be foolish not to. But to your point about the lighting too, the one thing I noticed on here is that the contrast is much higher on this. On any of these comparison videos, the contrast is much higher to a great point, especially in the Chloe bedroom scene. It's a much darker scene. It's a much more like she's trying to have fun, but she's still as David Madsen says, like toking out. Like she's still smoking, like she's still coping, right? It's still a very dark scene, whether it's a fun scene or a bad scene. the contrast being higher tells the story here that it's just a darker room, it's a darker vibe, so the lighting isn't just to make things look cooler, it's to tell the story better in the way that it's lit. And like you said, some lighting is enhanced as we see. Like there's some lighting that's much more enhanced. They're telling a story through the lighting of it, which is what my first point was. This what I see from this remaster is not just making it look pretty, it's making it look like what it was supposed to look like in the first place, which I really wish that all remasters did that instead of making it look pretty. You know?
I think like you said, the lighting's such an important aspect in any video game. And I feel like sometimes it's overlooked. And I'm not saying that it was overlooked in the first Life is Strange. The first Life is Strange had limitations. That's the thing. Like we have to always, I respect what it was. I don't feel like I'm ever going to play the Remastered Collection and say it's better because they enhanced things. It was limited. It was truly a sleeper hit for its year, because it never ever was expected to fly the way that it did. I remember the first episode coming out when it was very quiet, and the momentum just went like that. It just picked up. The more the games came out, the more episodes came out, the hype, the momentum. Like as I said, like they didn't have any streams planned for it. Like when I interviewed Hannah, there was like no restrictions of like, someone's going to interview our lead actor. Hannah could have said anything to me when I was interviewing for the fourth episode. She could have said anything. There was no end. It was like she would probably sign NDAs, but there was nothing like there. Like as a publisher stopping me from like doing it. Like she got loads of interviews with people. But like, this is the thing, like the lighting, as you said, like tells the scenes, like you could need to enhance it in some place. It was quite dark when you played it, the original game. And again, maybe it was that art direction, the style, the way they were doing things. I think like even itself, like if you sat down with like Michelle and Raul, it would be a really interesting conversation to see if they would ever change anything about the games. I always feel like it's always, I always find it's a very interesting conversation to have with any developer director. Be like, would you change anything? I think probably would be like, no, maybe. I mean, they'd probably say that we'd rather just build it from the ground up again and like put our kind of like staple on it. I don't think they'll change like a certain thing. I speak for myself here, not for them. But I feel like it's an interesting conversation to have with it. And obviously this is kind of like they're doing what they need to do with like, to kind of like just basically give the game a facelift and like kind of and honor it. I always say that the main word for me is like honoring the game. There's nothing like
it does feel like that. It feels like they're very much honoring the first game.
There was never like, they weren't going to go in there. Like I think like Deck 9 in itself, when they were like basically got Before the Storm, they were already trying to honor those characters, because like they already had to face a big task of like taking another studio's IP. Well, as a publisher's IP, but made by a studio, and then kind of like putting their own kind of stamp on it. And I feel like the main focus that they did here as well with like the facial animations, that's like the best one. We don't know who's actually in the mocap team for this in terms of like who's done the facial animations. I mean, I think I'm going to say that maybe Megan did Max's. Megan was Max's mocap actor in Farewell. And she was called back for True Colors. I know she did a bit of mocap for them in that. So I have a funny feeling she was called back for this. We'll find out obviously when the credits are kind of rolling as well for the first two, Life is Strange and Life is Strange Before Storm as well. But in itself, I'm happy personally with what I've seen. I think like you can be a fan and maybe not like the way that Chloe kind of stands out a bit more, or like the hair textures. I think like in itself, the hair texture is going to be limited. It's never going to look like the picture in Adam's background like you've seen if you're watching the video version. Like that's just like, that's just art. And like obviously a dream would be like her to have like really flowing hair and kind of like see a bit more like, especially with some of the games that are coming out now, it's like so mad, like the kind of like the pixels they actually put inside people's like certain, like hair and faces, like so surreal. So I feel like this is kind of just giving it a nice, just a nice polish up, if anything. But
exactly.
Yeah, but I was really hyped when I watched that first video. It felt so surreal watching that clip that they showed with the opening segment. I was just like, oh damn! I was like, this is so cool. Like just seeing it, it's just like, it brought back memories.
No, it's just like that's the thing. I think it's just going to make that nostalgia even finer. Man, I'm even looking at this comparison video and I'm getting to the point where Chloe is getting very frustrated. And the one thing I noticed that you can see her teeth more. Yeah. Like she's just like very much like in aggression mode. Like her eyes are in a different place, man. Her teeth are in her nose is much more prominent. Like in it just looks much more angry. You can, and that's the thing, like these facial things, it makes it feel like they're actually actors in the theater. you know, especially the scene. I don't know if you probably did watch the full clip of the one I sent you right before we started recording, where they were accusing David Madsen.
Yeah, the breakfast scene.
The breakfast scene. Like the way Max was going up to David is like, I'm sorry. You know, it's like you can see the emotion like on Max's face, especially. And it's just that much more impressive that you can see the emotion. And I think that's why they honored this. So they're saying like, because this is a game about emotions, you can actually tell the emotions of each character.
Yeah. It's sorry to point into what you're saying. I think like it truly shows, because when you do the first Life is Strange and the motion capture, like Raul and Michelle motion capture with the actors, for example, like with Max, and you probably heard this in StrangeCast, you'll hear this in Life After Stranger of Serena. Yeah. She basically, they made her walk around for like 20 minutes in a room just to get Max's animation right. It's the first thing I remember playing the first Life is Strange to see Max walk. I was like, it's a very interesting way she's walking. It's like, and you can see it with like the way that they made it, like, you know, they made her walk in a certain kind of way and kept doing it. And like, that was just because they were trying to do the animations of like, you know, the motion capture of like their bodies. They didn't have the chance to do the faces. So when you get to a scene with like that, and it's like Max isn't showing any emotion in her face, it's just like this voice of like, you know, Hannah's voice softly spoken, but no kind of like facial animation moving it. Yeah. It makes it hard to kind of like really be fully gripped by a coming of age drama about some teenage people. I kind of like feel, no, but it's a serious sense, because I would say like one of my favorite performances of all time is Tom Hardy as Bane. He has to act with his eyes. And I'm sorry if you think like, even if you don't like The Dark Knight Rises, like the acting from him is unbelievable. You can see it in his eyes. Everything he's doing with his eyes is like so brilliant. It's like he's putting an acting on it. You're putting like your entire face covered and it's just your eyes. You're still doing a lot to kind of sell them an emotional range as well. So like that's what I kind of got from it. And like you said, like, you know, when she's like confronting David Madsen, like you see the kind of like emotion. And I think that for me just adds like this kind of thing where it's like I'm keen to go back to it, see how my feelings feel about it, just like seeing with the actual with the actual facial captures being done.
And that's the thing, is like by the time this episode comes out, like we're excited right now to see Before the Storm footage, gameplay.
I can't wait to see a Tempest.
Oh my god, dude! Like, here's a set. Like, and we keep saying this, but like, you know, probably Friday when the episode drops, it probably will be out. You know what's really sad for me? I'm actually excited because of this emotional. Like, they're updating the faces. Okay, it's really bad. Really, 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 really bad for me to say. I can't wait for the rooftop scene with Kate. And I really want to see that scene, but with Kate, like, really in turmoil and Max is desperately trying to help her. It's really bad for me to be like, oh, nice, we're at the rooftop scene. You know, it's
it's a perfect way of feeling it, because if you take, as she's been on this episode, Days' emotional acting range, like, and she's not really showing it. You can see it, like, okay, they try it, but she's still kind of, it's kind of like still, you know, like almost how I sit in an entire episode of StrangeCast. Like, it's very like, you know, one face kind of like showing, but I feel like that's what they'll add to it. I think, as I said, I'm going to keep saying it, I feel like they honored things, and there was anything in here where I was like, I was worried at first in terms of like a little bit from the early pre-footage. It just didn't seem so. I feel like now I'm just like looking, I was like, oh, this is just really, really like, you know, fan service in the best kind of way. I don't know if me personally, I don't know why you'd kind of be a bit like, you know, peeved off or whatever. Like, if you don't want to play it, you don't have to play. Like, there's nothing there.
Like, you have to be like very nitpicky to say like, oh, they didn't do this. Oh, they didn't do. Oh, I wish it did this. It just seems to me that like they're doing their best just to like, we keep going back to the word, honor it. You know?
Yeah, you can't change more than what you get. It's the same with like when Blue Point Games, one of the most famous developers, has like enhanced so many remastered games from like, you know, there's a list of them. They do some incredible work with how they've like remastered games. The same with this as well. This is like a great just uplift. They're not going to change her hair to like a completely radical kind of point. So they're going to like change so much, because it's like at that point you might as well just remake the game essentially, because if you're changing so much, you're going to have to build it from the ground up. There's not really much point in doing that. I think they're just giving it a facelift treatment. I think like a lot of games have got remasters, and some of them you could kind of question if they have got, why they deserve remastered. This one definitely deserves it. I wish this would have been, I wish by collection this would have been including 2. rather than just being the essentially the Life is Strange Arcadia Bay collection, which is what it's essentially that's what it is. It's just I think it does injustice to Life is Strange 2 personally. But I think like obviously I will pick it up just to kind of see it. I think Adam, we're probably going to do our plans for like StrangeCast will be in February. Like the 2 episodes will be one focusing on Life is Strange 1 as our kind of like main discussion point, and then another one will be on Before Storm. I think like we kind of pretty much agreed to that because there'll be so much to talk about. But like generally, obviously, like as we said, we're recording this on Wednesday. We've seen a couple of clips. There'll be more content coming. I imagine we'll see Before Storm. So obviously, like there'll be more like exciting kind of like content. I think this is the best way of feeding people content. It's just like this is what you need. It's like here's a clip of from the scene.
Do we really need anything more? Like the whole episode last week was just like deciding on like why are people so worried about this? Because we're not seeing anything. But like looking at this now, like did we really need to see it? It's Life is Strange Remastered. The only thing we needed was those screenshots. And it's like, look. It looks nice. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. It looks nice. Whether or not people will say like the game crashes for me, blah, blah, blah. It's only good on next gen. Like that's technicalities, like eventually it will be patched, eventually it will work on your console. I think PC people might have an issue with it because if you're not PC, blah, 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 there's so many different workabouts, but like, I think the biggest complaint we're going to hear is going to be like, oh, the game crashes. Oh, the game it stutters here. Its frame rate drops here. It's blah, blah, blah. Like that's stupid crap.
Well, it would be a bit of an issue. I did criticize it for that in the first one.
Yeah. I think it like on a technical standpoint,
I get what you mean. It's like nitpicking overly thing. I think like it will run performance wise. It should run better. That was like kind of like it did seem. I think like if I remember correctly, when I first played episode 5 in Life is Strange 1, maybe the frame rate was a bit laggy when it goes through that storm sequence, like Max is going through.
Oh yeah,
I have funny feeling that there maybe there was a bit of a performance issue there. It's been so many years since I remembered what my review actually wrote. Like generally speaking, like I think like this is really kind of like sorry, I hit my mic there. I'm very chilled about what I saw. I was just kind of like, I think as a new consumer, if you've never played Life is Strange and you're coming to this, I think you're going to be in for a real treat. Because I think you'll see it in a way that I wish that, it's almost like if I could raise my experience of the first Life is Strange playing it from the Dontnod game and then just play this for the first time normally and then bring my Dontnod experience back and then see it from the same perspective, would be quite interesting. But I think like, generally speaking, I'm going to pick it up. I think if you're a really big fan, you'll probably pick it up. It's down to you if you really want to spend that much money. I imagine it's going to go on sale, and then I have a funny feeling it'll go on to like PS Plus, Games Pass. I think it'll go on those services because I think like for Square Enix to just get it out to people and keep getting as much kind of appeal of it, and they obviously make a deal with those publishers anyway to get money from like.
I think it's going to come on Game Pass, pretty soon. Like it's definitely going to. Because Life is Strange games have been on Game Pass before. It's not like they're strangers to that. And I would say, I'm not going to say day and date. This isn't going to come to Game Pass February 1st. Like it is going to be on Stadia. Like, holy crap. Like it's Stadia day one on Stadia Pro. Like, my goodness. Like as soon as that news came out that it was going to be on day one on Game Pass or Stadia Pro, I'm like, wow, Stadia's still kicking. Good for them. Yeah.
It's like
you Google. It's like, oh my goodness.
The year is 2022 and Google Stadia is still
a thing. It's still a thing. Well, I know a friend who's still playing it like constantly. I'm like, oh, good for you.
I see occasional people like play it, and I'm like, it's the support is going to get pretty much withdrawn. Like,
oh yeah,
it's sooner. Like they're not going to keep it, but in itself, to kind of put the game out there, get whatever sales. Like it'd be stupid not to put Life is Strange as many platforms as it can possibly do.
Yeah.
I'd like to see this being ported onto, if it is possible to get it onto actual like the iOS and Android devices, which I think would be possible because the original Life is Strange is on there. And I believe,
can you imagine if it came on iOS before it came on Switch? Oh, the pain. It's like,
no. I think the Switch one will get. I think like you're probably right. Like that time frame, like in a couple of months, it will be dropping that. And I think that when they might do that, I think they might even drop the price on this on the PlayStation, Xbox, PC version. But yeah, over excited. How about you?
Oh yeah. Very excited. I'm excited for Microsoft to put this on Game Pass. Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah.
I was saying to Adam in a couple of messages, I was like, I can't wait for Sony to buy Square Enix, and then he has to buy PlayStation so we can continue these podcast episodes, because otherwise it'll be an absolute nightmare.
Oh my God. I'm surprised that they haven't already. You know, it's like, I'm surprised Sony hasn't even tried to. I don't think Square Enix, Enix, I don't think they want to be purchased.
No, I'm very much against the monopolization of like. Microsoft has left a very sour taste in my mouth in terms of the Bethesda and Activision deals. It's just like, stop turning it into monopoly. It's just like, oh, but
yeah, I will say that I was pretty upset when Xbox took over Activision. I was like, come on.
Because obviously,
I mean, it doesn't mean that Bobby Kotick is going away. Like, he's done. Like,
well, he's still staying there for the time being, and he's going to try and stay on power as much
Phil
as possible.
Spencer won't kick him out, but Bobby Kotick, if Phil Spencer's like, oh yeah, I'm your boss, Bobby will be like, see ya.
Have you seen all the stuff afterwards that came out about it? Like he is going to cling on to power as much as possible, and when he leaves, he won't leave quietly either.
No, he won't. Like, that's the thing. It's just like, when Bobby Kotick leaves, you'll know Bobby Kotick left.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll move Bobby Kotick after this because he's a fucker, and we're going to like keep on to actual Life is Strange. But yeah, I'm done with that. Are you all good?
Yeah. I'm just thoroughly impressed, and I can't wait for next week.
Absolutely. It's going to be very exciting. So guys, I hope you enjoyed watching that. As I said, we'll be having a big discussion over these two episodes. I think they'll probably be the main bulk of February. I actually had a very good topic, by the way, Adam, for this segment, but I will keep that in the backlog. I didn't plan this to be announced. So I think we'll definitely come back to it. And I think it'll be very apt to do it in the probably early March after one of these games is released. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, rate, subscribe, all those the YouTube things, and also comment as well. I love hearing what other people's opinions are. They're very different from our own. And if you're listening on podcast services as well, please give us support on there as well. It helps with the channel. And obviously, as we are on podcast services. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can listen to us on Spotify whenever you're going for a walk, work, whatever. But yeah, absolute pleasure. Adam, thank you for being here again. Day, a big special thank you as well for coming on. We absolutely love you. But yeah, guys, stay tuned. There'll be another StrangeCast coming soon, and it will definitely be our first episode on Life is Strange Remastered Collection 1. We will be focusing on that. So I hope you look forward to that. Take care. We'll see you again soon.
Later.